Round the world and home again, that's the sailor's way. There's no earthly way of knowing which direction we are going. There's no knowing where we're rowing or which way the river's flowing. Is it raining? Is it snowing? Is a hurricane a-blowing? Not a speck of light is showing, so the danger must be growing. Are the fires of hell growing? Is the grizzly reaper mowing? Yes! The danger must be growing! The roars keep on rolling! They are suddenly not showing any signs that they are slowing! We're here. Hi, I'm Bobby, and I heard some news recently that made me feel very blue. Denise Nickerson, who played Violet Beauregarde in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, passed away. And it brought back all the memories of watching Willy Wonka as a child. And I wanted to see it again. And I think I love it even more now. So, let's press on. There's so much time and so little to review. Wait a minute. Strike that. Reverse it. Like most of us, when he was a kid, Roald Dahl loved candy. He would stare into the candy store window, and his favorite was a sherbet sucker dipped in licorice. The Cadbury Chocolate Factory was near his school, and they would send to school sample boxes of their new chocolates. And the students were the taste testers and would give little reviews. Now, Cadbury and Rowntree were the two biggest chocolate companies in the UK, and competition was so fierce that they would send in spies to learn each other's secrets. Years later, all of this would inspire him to write Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And Mel Stewart's daughter read the book and told her dad that he should make a movie of it. Mel called his producer, David Walper, and said, "The kid wants us to make this picture, and I think it's pretty good." Meanwhile, David Walper heard that Quaker Oats wanted to make a new candy bar, and he convinced them that this movie would be a great promotion for it. They should finance it and call it a Wonka bar. To ensure the fantasy quality, Mel Stewart shot in Munich, Germany, which was unfamiliar to most American audiences. And for the 5 kids in the film, it would be an adventure that they would never forget. For some of the scenes, Mel Stewart wouldn't show or tell them what to expect, so it was actually their natural reactions. And about 1/3 of that chocolate room was actually real and could be eaten. Between scenes, Gene Wilder would tell them stories and jokes, and Jack Albertson would show them old vaudeville routines. Both girls had a crush on Peter Ostrom. Michael Bollner kept to himself because he didn't speak English, only German. And Paris Feeman was the bratty youngster who took the lid off of the beehive. But in Willy Wonka fashion, he got stung in the face. Famed candy maker Willy Wonka has hidden 5 golden tickets in the wrappers of his chocolate bars. The lucky finders will receive a lifetime supply of chocolate and a tour of Wonka's chocolate factory. The 5 winners are the fat kid Augustus Gloop, the spoiled Veruca Salt, the obnoxious gum chewer Violet Beauregarde, the bratty TV watcher Mike TV, and the good-hearted but poor Charlie Bucket. However, they have all been paid a visit by Wonka's competitor, Mr. Slugworth. Sounds like delicious candy. He'll give them money if they bring him Wonka's new invention, the everlasting gobstopper. Each child is allowed 1 adult as chaperone, and Charlie asks his 20-year bedridden Grandpa Joe. For Charlie, he gets out of bed and they go on the tour. Unfortunately for the 4 other kids, their greed gets them into trouble, and they leave the tour a little earlier than expected. At the end, only Charlie and Grandpa Joe are left, but Wonka tells them that because they drank fizzy lifting drinks without permission, they don't get the chocolate. Grandpa Joe is infuriated and is going to sell the gobstopper to Slugworth. But Charlie gives it back to Wonka, and unknowingly passes Wonka's test of honesty and is going to be the new owner of the chocolate factory. This is a terrific children's story, but Mel Stewart didn't want to make it for those runts. He made it for adults and trusted the kids were smart and would get the jokes. So on one level, it's an endearing fantasy, and on another, it's a brilliant comedy. And like a good Twizzler, it's perfectly intertwined. When you're a kid, candy is magical. Remember how excited you were when the teacher gave you candy? So the idea that there's this crazy fantasy land of a chocolate factory just automatically appeals to a kid's imagination. There is a global craze to find these golden tickets, and Mel Stewart, who came from a documentary background, makes these scenes seem genuine. So you'll certainly snicker at the satire and consumerism, but if you're a kid, you believe it because of how important candy is to you. Mrs. Curtis, did you hear me? It's your husband's life or your case of Wonka bars. How long will they give me to think it over? The fantasy aspects are mesmerizing. The bright colors, imaginative costumes and makeups, catchy songs, scary parts, and a really great lesson. But while this is going on, the characters are exchanging one funny line after the other. Some jokes the kids will definitely get. Have a rainbow drop. You can spit in 7 different colors. Spitting's a dirty habit. I know a worse one. While others are more adult-oriented. Now, the 4 bad kids, and most of the adults, are so greedy that you're going to laugh your butt or finger off. But it's also part of the story's lesson against selfishness. And what I love about this lesson is it's not saying that if you're ever selfish, you're bad. Charlie is selfish once in a while. We all are. But it should be the exception and not the rule. And there's a point where it becomes ridiculous. And look how ridiculous these people are, and you don't want to be like that. So the fantasy and the humor are part of each other. And no matter how old you are, you're going to get something out of both. Oompa doompa doopity doo. This movie has a groovy cast for you. There is a magic to Gene Wilder's Willy Wonka. When you look into his eyes, there's this childlike sense of wonder where you believe all of this is possible. When they offered him the part, he said he would do it on one condition. When he first comes out, he has a cane and can barely walk. And then he does a somersault. So that the audience would never know if he's lying or telling the truth. And that's the fun of the character. You never know what he's going to do. Gene was a brilliant comic actor, and he just non-stop mocks these terrible people and doesn't care that he's scaring them and turning them to blueberries. But Gene Wilder's warm heart always shines through, so you're never afraid. You're in on the fun with him. The only time that he's actually intimidating, and I think he saved it so it would have maximum impact, is when he says he's not going to give the chocolate to Charlie. It's all there, black and white, clear as crystal! You stole fizzy lifting drinks! You bumped into the ceiling which now has to be washed and sterilized, so you get nothing! You lose! Good day, sir! For that moment, the great actor Gene Wilder shuts off his warm heart, and you feel betrayed just like Charlie does. But then you find out you were fooled again, and it's part of Wonka's test for honesty. And I think Gene's somersault is part of why you're able to instantly forgive him and become enchanted again. You know he's a trickster from his very first scene. You're just the dum-dum who fell for it. Along with Gene Wilder, the rest of the cast, from big parts to small, are also superb. Peter Ostrom makes his Charlie pure-hearted and honest, but also a real boy who gets upset and sad. As for the rotten kids and their equally rotten parents, this is what makes it so much fun. These kids and these adults just relish playing these horrible characters, and they play off each other and Wonka so well. My favorite is Julie Dawn Cole as Veruca Salt. She's bossy, mean, and wants everything. She even wants a Oompa Loompa. Her simpering father always gives in, and I cannot stop laughing when she's on screen. I want the world. I want the whole world. I want to lock it all up in my pocket. It's my bar of chocolate. Give it to me now. I want today. I want tomorrow. I want to wear braids in my hair. I'm not gonna share them. I want a party with rooms full of laughter, 10,000 tons of ice cream, and if I don't get the things I am after, I'm going to scream! Don't care how, I want it now! Don't care how, I want it now! My second favorite is Denise Nickerson is Violet Beauregard, and her father, the used car salesman square deal Sam, is my favorite parent. because he's just as obnoxious with his used cars as she is with her chewing gum. Each of these high-spirited kids has a memorable demise, but hers is the best. She tries Wonka's new chewing gum that's still in the experimental stage, and the results are not very good. With sour cream, what's my dessert, baby? Dessert, here it comes. Blueberry pie and cream, the most fab blueberry pie I ever tasted. Violet, you're turning violet, Violet! I feel funny. What is this, a freak out? Happens every time they all become blueberries. Oh, well, I'll get it right in the end. She has to be squeezed immediately before she explodes. Explodes! I've got a blueberry for a daughter. I love all the 70s slang both her and her dad use. It doesn't date the film. Instead, it gives them both more of that sleazy used car salesman quality. Now, Denise had quite a bit of trouble turning into a blueberry. The Oompa Loompas were shorter than she was. And when they were rolling her out, they kept bumping her head into the door frame, and she got like 5 or 6 bumps. Then 2 days later, she was back in regular school, and the makeup started to come back through her pores, and she turned blue in the middle of class. Now on the internet, Grandpa Joe has been in some hot cabbage water lately, but I think it's stuff and nonsense from a bunch of pernicious canids. As for him suddenly getting out of bed after 20 years to go to the factory and immediately singing and dancing, this is a fantasy, so you can't judge it with reality standards. And remember, it's because Charlie wants him to go. Now, as for him just now giving up tobacco, that's part of the lesson. Yes, he was selfish, but now he's fixing it. As for why he keeps telling Charlie, you're going to find the golden ticket, you're going to find the golden ticket, even though the odds are so against him, it's because he doesn't want Charlie to give up hope. Now, performance-wise, before Gene Wilder comes in, Jack Albertson is the magic of the movie. He tells Charlie stories about the factory that foreshadow the fantasy and prepare you to start suspending your own disbelief. And when he's with Charlie, his eyes just light up, and you feel the childish heart inside the old man. And I, for one, love his singing and dancing. You could just tell that he used to be in vaudeville, which is a type of performer that doesn't exist anymore. Now, speaking of magic, I'm also a sucker for the sets. For exteriors, Mel Stewart shot in Munich, Germany, which most Americans were unfamiliar with, so it had a Neverland quality of any time, any place. Now, because so many fairy tales are of German origin, even if you do recognize it, it still fits that atmosphere that he wanted. As for Wonka's factory, everything is just so imaginative and all around groovy looking. The big things like the Wonkatania and the Chocolate River are enchanting, but I also love the small details like the coat hangers and the lickable wallpaper. Just like Wonka says, little surprises are around every corner. Now the budget was only $2.9 million, so the sets aren't as elaborate as they would be today, but I like that they're more condensed. For one thing, it makes it seem like a real factory where you only have so much space. And it makes it seem like something Willy Wonka could have actually made himself, because this factory really is an extension of his own personality. The movie laid an egg at the box office, and so did Quaker Oats' Wonka Bar. There was a mistake in the formula, and it melted on the store shelves. But the movie eventually became a beloved family classic. Roald Dahl felt that Gene Wilder's performance wasn't strange enough and disliked the movie, but fans disagreed. And until Gene Wilder died, more people than you'd ever imagine would go up to him in the street and be in awe because he was Willy Wonka. In 1988, Nestle bought the rights to the name Wonka and began making Wonka candies. In 2005, the movie was remade by Tim Burton and Johnny Depp. This time, Gene Wilder felt it was an insult to the original. According to some fan theories, in 2014, Willy Wonka got an unofficial sequel with the movie Snowpiercer. And if you've ever been on Facebook, you'll notice that the condescending Wonka meme has become one of the most popular memes on social media. As for my thoughts on the remake, I'm a trifle blind in one eye. You'll have to use a bigger font next time. But as for my thoughts on the original, I think you'll love it as a kid, and I think you'll love it even more as an adult. So I give it 4 Oompa Loompas out of 4. Thank you for watching Dusty Old Movies, and goodbye, adieu, auf Wiedersehen, Gesundheit, farewell.